Soundcheck podcast is coming up. Please continue to hold. Keep up with the Soundcheck podcast and everything that's happening in the New Sounds empire. Just go to newsounds.org and follow us on social media. All of the icons are in the top right corner of the page. All of our other musicians are currently playing for other customers. Please stay with us, and someone will play for you in just a moment. Up next, from newsounds.org, welcome to another of our live in-studio performances in the series we call the Soundcheck Podcast. Streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, I'm John Schaefer. My Brightest Diamond is essentially the work of Shara Nova, the singer and multi-instrumentalist. Shara is a classically trained vocalist and for many years has also been a sought-after singer and composer on the contemporary classical music scene. Using the name My Brightest Diamond, she creates music that also incorporates elements of indie rock and art pop and soul. The latest album by My Brightest Diamond is called 1,000,001, and Shara and band are here to play some of it for us today, beginning with a song called Dance Floor. Full title is It's Me on the Dance Floor.
I'm all alone. I'm all alone. Turn the lights low. Go in and tap all these numbers out. Tap out. I'm looking out. Figure it out. I'm looking out for someone to see and someone to be. See me, but maybe. It's me I'm looking for. It's me on the dance floor. It's me I've been looking for. It's me on the dance floor. That's right. I've been going out. Dance like. I've been going out on a limb. I begin to the shadow, I see my face. To see who I might really be, who I might really be, who I might really be, who I might really be. It's me I'm looking for. It's me on the dance floor. It's me I've been looking for. It's me on the dance floor. Woo!
My Brightest Diamond, the work of singer, songwriter, and composer Shara Nova, live here in our New Sound studio. The song is It's Me on the Dance Floor, with Shara singing, got a keyboard handy, Chris Bruce handy as well with the guitar and bass, and Jairus Yoakley behind our drum kit. Shara, it's great to see you, as always.
Thank you. Thanks for having us on.
You know, one of the things that I've always loved about your work, whether it's your classical pieces or whatever this is, My Brightest Diamond, this, kind of meeting of art and pop music, is the way you subvert expectations. And with it, when you give a song a title like It's Me on the Dance Floor and put it first track on the record, people expect, kind of a club banger sort of thing. And instead, you get this kind of song about identity. And it seems like maybe that's a recurring theme in a lot of your work.
The record before was called This Is My Hand, and it was a way of beginning to establish a relationship with my body that I didn't have. I didn't feel connected, and so It's Me on the Dance Floor was, I think, the next step in that is about one's autonomy and one's relationship to the body. Not that I'm going to a club to hook up with somebody, but I'm going to be in my skin, and how do I feel my fingers and my feet and all my parts.
Yeah. Now, just the fact that over the years we've known you as Shara Warden, which was your married name. When you changed names, you could have just gone back to your family name, but you chose Nova, which is Latin for new. So did you see this as a kind of a new beginning, a restart, so to speak?
Yes. I mean, I think anyone who's gone through, I used the supernova metaphor maybe, but sometimes it feels like the thing that you thought your life was going to, and it implodes or explodes, and that's a feeling that's like death. And then from a death of identity, what I thought I was, who I thought I was, has to be re-evaluated. And going backward didn't feel like it didn't feel true. But coming into something new felt genuine. Right.
And you mentioned Supernova, which is one of the deeper cuts on the record, 1,000,001. And, really, it's one of a number of tracks that has like a kind of packs a hidden punch to it. The other is the track about, it's clearly a song about the killing of Trayvon Martin, which almost sounds, reminded me of, remember when Peter Gabriel wrote his song Biko about Stephen Biko? It just had that kind of, that storytelling aspect of it as well. So it's not all like introspective and looking at the new me, but it's also wider. It's looking out as well. That must have been.
I think that's the contradiction in the title itself, 1,000,001, is, does transformation come from only work within, or is it also in looking out and looking at our tribe, looking at our community, looking at our neighbor, and saying, what's my relationship to you? And so that's really where the title was
the album
generated.
title.
The album title was generated.
So do you think your songwriting in the last couple of years has become more kind of socially or politically aware? Because you've written two pieces for the Brooklyn Youth Chorus. One is about white privilege. The other is about let's not forget what that statue out in the harbor is actually about, And then there's this Trayvon Martin. Does that feel new to you?
I have been so afraid to address racism in my work. I have songs like Say What that Chris and I wrote together. There's a Rat was actually, that was on the third album, that was about a killing of a family in Detroit. But I didn't know how to talk about things in a more explicit way. And we get very defensive very, very quickly. And so as a songwriter, finding
finding ways to write so that empathy is something that can be reached for, and it is something that I'm learning and growing into, and also have had to do a tremendous amount of reading and continuing to read and educate myself in a way that I also thought that I was educated, only to realize how ignorant I have been. And so it requires a lot of not just internal work, but a lot of reading.
Mm-hmm. Again, this contrast between the interior and looking more broadly and seeing what's actually going on. As a composer, you start with the music, with notes on a paper or, a musical idea. As a songwriter, do you start the same way? Or, a song like this probably had to start with words, I would think.
Actually, Earl Harvin sent me iPhone recordings of drum patterns. And I loved these rhythms that he sent. And this particular rhythm, Jairus, do we even know what time signature this thing is in? I don't think
when
we
your drummer
do.
sadly shakes his head like that, that's actually a pretty good sign.
Jairus is the most patient drummer in the world. This song is actually through composed. It doesn't have any. It has very few repeating patterns. Some of these tunes are really math problems.
Yeah.
But It's Me on the Dance Floor, I think I rewrote the verses on that thing, must have been 7 times or something. So it was actually lyrics. I knew the feeling I wanted to have, but so it was much more like, how do I want this music to feel? How do I want it to make me move? So it was much more rhythm. And I also knew that because everything in the past had been very much about orchestration, and I want these bells and whistles and this, and we knew for this album we wanted 4 people. And there should never be anything more than 4 things happening at one time. And that kind of restriction also was very, very new for me.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that because there is a leaner sound to this album than the more orchestral previous ones, except for the voices.
Yes, I cheated.
Yeah. There's lots of layers of Shara's.
I find a way to cheat.
Yeah. Now, having written so much music for, I mentioned the Brooklyn Youth Chorus, but also the Grammy-winning vocal octet Room Full of Teeth, writing for multiple
Grammy-nominated Michelle Ndegeocello. She's up for that, too.
So, you're obviously you have a lot of experience of weaving multiple layers of voice together. Is it, does that kind of experience come in handy when you're layering voice tracks in a studio, or is it a completely different thing?
For sure. That's actually quite a technical question.
Yeah, sorry about that.
We can go there.
No, let's just pretend I never asked it.
Well, I guess it's about economy of when you are using textures, and I think that working with Brooklyn Youth Chorus has certainly helped teach me a lot about when do you want to have all those layers, and when do you need to be more sparse.
Yeah. We're speaking with Shara Nova. The latest album from My Brightest Diamond is called 1,000,001. And this next song you're going to do for us, called Another Chance, this is one of the ballad, right? This is essentially one of the ballads on the record. She's got Chris Bruce, and behind the drum kit, Jairus Yokley. And so let's hear another live performance.
If I get another chance at love, if I get another chance, I will call you my sweet thing. If I get another chance chance at love, if I get another chance, I'll hold you like I'm never leaving you. Everywhere I've been has got me right here now. I have no regrets. Every love I had, I bless you. Thanks, I don't take it back. My love, my if I get another chance at love, if I get another chance, I will call you my sweet thing. If I get another chance at love, if I get another chance, my kisses will be never ending. Everywhere I've been has got me right here now. I have no regrets. If I have a chance to give, I'm not holding back, not holding back. My love, my love.
My Brightest Diamond, Another Chance, beautiful song from the latest album called A Million and One. Shara Nova singing and playing the keyboard, Chris Bruce on bass, Jarvis Yoakley behind the drum kit. It was interesting to hear you, Shara, talking about, just before you sang that song, sometimes you want all the layers of voices, sometimes you don't, and I found myself almost wanting to sing along the backing, the have no regrets, the backing vocals that you chose not to put in the background of the song in the live version.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting decision there. How do you make those decisions? How do you make those calls? Is it purely logistical or?
Well, there's a little bit of those background vocals in, but sometimes, this leap to playing to tracks was a really big, I had been very, very, very anti-tracks my whole life for a lot of different reasons, but yes, so they sneak in there, but I did take out some of them just because I didn't want it to feel too canned.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you another technical question. This time I know it's a technical question, but I'm going to ask it anyway.
Let's do it.
When you're singing with My Brightest Diamond versus singing someone else's music that they've written for you, say a Sarah Kirkland Snyder or a Sufjan or a Bryce Dessner or whoever it is, do you take the same kind of vocal approach, or do you approach the act of singing differently according to the context?
I think it's you become much more like an actor. So in that way that you have to find some means to sing that material in a way that is true. And you know, a lot of actors have different methods for doing that. For me, what I find is I paint a picture in my head and I'm in the movie. So if it's David Lang and I'm singing Death Speaks, Death, I become Death. Or whatever it is, whatever I have to do to create that picture in my mind so that the blood is real. You know?
And is that the same with your own songs? You know, do you have to inhabit a song that you've written the same way?
It doesn't feel like acting in the same way.
Yeah.
Because the material comes from me. So it is a little different mode.
Yeah.
Stick shift automatic. I don't know.
You know, you've been such a part of the new music scene in New York City for so long that people are still surprised to find that you live in Detroit. How are things going there? I mean, when you moved there, wasn't your house the only house on the block that was inhabited?
There were a lot of abandoned houses, but that there was already a community in that particular place that was owned by a family, and but I have given that house for my son's father, so they live there now, and I'm in by the waterfront in a kind of industrial, feels like an you know, the plumbing leaks and you know, you can hear your neighbors' television and everything. So I'm in a different kind of experience in Detroit now.
But you've been there now for a number of
9
years.
years, yeah.
And you know, what's the experience been there? I mean, is there a genuine kind of revival happening?
Well, I would say that from being there for 9 years, I have been shocked to learn many things. There's a lot of really great things that are happening, but what you realize is that all the boats do not go up at the same rate. And that was a shock to me because I thought, economic flow, this is going to be good for everybody. But that is not true. And I see that with the kids in the neighborhoods. Where are these kids getting jobs? Where can they go? How do they get to school? So just because there's a coffee shop for a person like me that wasn't there 9 years ago, doesn't mean that is helping those kids, and you cannot be unaffected by that.
Now, you were talking before about, you know, in writing some of the more socially conscious songs that you have written, that it required not just looking in, but looking out as well. It seems like just living day to day, your life in Detroit was kind of a big part of that experience for you.
And having to reconcile the fact that as an outsider, as a white person moving into a black city, I am part of gentrifying that city, whether I like that, to engage with that as a subject or not, I am. And so one has to then begin to ask, well, because of my presence there, then I'm sending a message to other white people, hey, come, look, it's so cool. Well, why is it cool? Who's there? Who's getting steamrolled? You know, whose businesses are opening up? Who's got the support? And those are questions that one begins to ask. Yeah.
And how many of those questions are asked during the course of 1,000,001? I mean, is this a Detroit record as you see it?
I think part of me, I lived about an hour west of Detroit as a teenager. So we got Detroit radio as a kid. And so
WJR and
WJLB, and a lot of these amazing soul stations are still there, 92.3. And so I was so deeply influenced by Stevie Wonder, Anita Baker, Marvin Gaye, Smokey Robinson, and all this incredible music, Diana Ross, all this incredible music that came from Motown was the music that taught me how to sing. And so there are a lot of, so I would, in short, I would say that the record is also searching for a way to give honor and to acknowledge that history, and to acknowledge the influence that music has had on my life.
Yeah. And, there are some of the songs that the kind of soul Detroit gospel sound, especially in the layering of the voices, is really quite evident. A lot of fun. The final track on the record, which you're going to do next, is called White Noise. Is there a double entendre there, given what you were just talking about, being a white person in a largely black city?
You got to look at it and ask about this and how that affects your reality. And so this song is a question.
All right. Let's hear another live performance from My Brightest Diamond. The album's called 1,000,001, and this song is White Noise.
When you wanna dance, you dance to the white noise. White, 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 white noise. If you wanna be rich, get hip to the white noise. And if you get rich quick, then hip, hip, you can be a rich bitch. Make a parade up to white noise. Parade right up to the mirror, come face to face. I feel so sensitive that my position might have to be shifted by a break. And now I'm counting up all of these benefits is nothing but white noise. Are you mad, 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 mad? Ain't bad enough. Are you mad, 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 mad? Ain't bad enough. Ain't bad enough. Are you sad, 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 sad? Ain't sad enough. Are you sad, 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 sad? Ain't sad enough. Ain't sad enough. noise. Breaking up the white noise. Breaking the white noise.
My Brightest Diamond live in our new sound studio on this edition of the Soundcheck podcast with a live performance of White Noise. It's from the latest album by Shara Nova and Company called 1,000,001. And Shara, you know, your art has always been a collaborative one, whether, you know, working with other composers, other singers, musicians, chamber music, the band, whatever. Having worked with everyone from David Byrne to the Detroit Party Marching Band, who's your great white whale? Who's the collaborator that's gotten away so far? Your dream collaborator.
I thought you were going to say the man that is on the records that nobody sees, and it's this guy.
Chris? Okay.
Chris and I have played together since the beginning. And yet we get to play together so very rarely. It's actually tremendous for us to be together. And so even though we've made records together for all these years, it's still like electrifying when we get to be in the room. And so I never take it for granted.
Right.
You know? It's like we were recording this morning, he's playing chords. I'm like, okay, I'm going to write a song over that. Okay. Anytime he's in the room, he's just, you know, we just want to make things together. So it's really, he may be the man behind the curtain that,
Okay.
that people don't see, but it's really wonderful for us to be together today.
Well, I'm glad that worked out, you know, because this wasn't originally meant to be in this format. So, Chris, I'm glad you were able to join us for our session today.
And I met Jairus yesterday, and I was like, Jairus, who are you? Will you come be in my band, please? So, Jairus is new. He's new, but man.
All right,
you better watch out for him.
You'll fix that. You'll fix that in no time. Shara, it's always great fun to see you, and congratulations on the new record, 1,000,001. It sounds terrific.
Thank you. Thank you, John.
This is Soundcheck.
All right, stop.